Welcome to a podcast about all things casting for actors or those who want to be an actor, and maybe for those who work in the industry and are smart enough to learn all parts of the biz. This is The Casting Curtain. Hi, my name is Sally Forcier, and I'm a casting director, producer, and acting coach, and have been in the biz for over 25 years. Now let's get started. All right. I'm so excited. Hi, everybody. Today we have an amazing guest on The Casting Curtain. I am so thrilled. I love this guy. He's got the biggest heart. He's so sweet. He's so talented. You all probably know him from the Blue Power Ranger. And I'm excited to introduce the amazing Jasmeet. Hello, Jazz.
Hey, how you guys doing? So excited to be here. I love Sally, and we have that mutual respect and love for each other. And I'm so excited to be here and talk to you guys and also talk to Sally.
Wonderful. I really appreciate you taking time to meet with us today. I know you're busy. You're currently on set, you were just telling me. And so we only have a good half an hour together, but we're going to take it. And I appreciate you carving out time to talk to me and the viewers to talk about all things casting. So I want to start first with our first meeting. Do you remember when that was?
Yes, that was actually in my hometown at Reno. And I remember showing up a little late too.
Well, now I remember that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I was doing a class there for a talent agency in Reno, Nevada, which for us in Northern California is about 3 hours east. And I'm doing this class, and I remember, great group. She has a great group there at True Talent. And all of a sudden you walk in and dude, you have a presence about you, know, and I just like, who's that guy, and in casting, I'm used to that. I can really pick up on people who have like this energy, and you were as gracious and sweet as you were, with a strong presence. And so we had a nice chat and got to know each other a little bit after the class, but you have an interesting story, and I thought this is going to be cool to share with everybody, the journey of where you've come from and what you've done and what you're going to do. So first of all, why don't we start with you just telling us, how you first got started into acting?
Yes, so I remember I was around, I believe, 12 years old, and my dad forced me into acting because I was not a very good kid in school. I was out with my friends after school, just, basic teenager, well, almost teenager. And I remember talking to my dad, and he told me, he's like, hey, you're quick on your feet, you're funny, you're charismatic. Why don't we put you in acting? And I wanted to be an NBA star. So I was like, I want to be in the NBA. I want to know, I love basketball. And he's like, well, you're probably not going to be that tall. So why don't we just try acting? So I remember him putting me in class, and I met with Justine. And Justine could kind of tell. It was Justine and Waters, the acting coach at the time. And Justine could kind of tell I didn't want to be there. So she asked me, she had me do a couple stuff. She's like, what is this what you want to do? And I was straight up. I was like, no. I was like, I want to be in the NBA. She goes, well, you're not really that tall either. And I was like, well, like, I don't care. I want to be in the NBA. She goes, okay. And then she told my dad, she goes, maybe this isn't for him. Maybe he needs to think about it. And then around 6 months later, me and my dad started arguing again. And then around that time, I started watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I was looking at Will Smith, and I was thinking, like, this is what I really want to do. This is actually really cool. Like, I get to come home, escape school, escape homework, and watch the show and be in this in this world where I'm just happy and so entertained. Like, I want to entertain people. So I went back to class and hated it for the first 6 months. I was super nervous. I was an introvert, did not want to be there. And then my acting coach, Waters, she slowly got me out of my shell. So did Justine. And then went to a talent competition. And by the age of 14, got signed and still signed to my agency, Momentum Talent Agency. And it's just been a ride ever since then. And I think over the years, I've came to realizing that nothing is going to happen on my time. I just have to stick with it, and it will happen when it's meant to happen. But I just have to be ready for the opportunity instead of getting ready when the opportunity arrives.
I love that. And that's what I truly believe too. I don't necessarily believe in luck, but it's that statement, that phrase that's like preparedness meeting opportunity. meaning
that.
you're being prepared, you're doing the work, you're doing
Mhm,
the training, you're networking, you're doing a podcast,
mhm.
and then the opportunity comes, and that's when the luck happens, right? And so
Exactly. And that
uh,
was another thing that I always go back to Denzel Washington. He always had this quote in his, I think he did a speech at Harvard. He did a speech saying, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're bound to get a haircut. Like you're gonna get a haircut if you're just there, if you're just constantly dealing with the rejection, getting better and picking yourself up and you're still there, casting's eventually gonna see, dang, this guy's read for me for the past 2 years. He needs a break. Let me cast him in this. Let me cast him in that. And little things, small waves turn into big waves. And the next thing you know, you're right where you want to be.
oh, that is great.
Right.
I honestly have not heard that. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Of
Eventually going to get there, and
course.
some happens faster than others, and you just, I think once you found your passion, it sounds like it. When did that click for you? When did it go from I'm dreading this to like, okay, after you saw the Prince of Bel Air, was it
Mhm.
a particular audition piece in a coaching session? Was it on set when you just go, I'm gonna do this? When did that happen?
For me, I still didn't know I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be an actor, but I wasn't completely sure because none of my friends were doing it, and I wanted to hang out with friends after school. So for me, it clicked when Justine and Waters, they pulled me aside after a year and a half of me being at Take Two, and they said, "You should go to this competition. We believe that you have what it takes, but do you believe that you have what it takes?" I wasn't paying for it. I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it. It sounds like fun." And I became really good friends with one of my friends in acting class. He was a lot older than me, and he took me under his wing. So when we went to this competition in LA, we did it, and then by the end, when I got signed, that's when it really clicked. That's when I was like, maybe there is something for my color, for my ethnicity. At first I was like, oh, you have to be Caucasian, you have to have, blonde hair, blue eyes. But once little things started building my confidence up, it started making my passion even more and more. And then after I got signed, that's when it really clicked for me that this is going the way that I wanted to. I know that it's not going to happen soon, but if I stick with it, it'll happen. That's small victories. So especially being on set, when my first time being on set was for 10 hours. It was for this local commercial. And when I first thought it was like 10 hours, oh my God, I want to be there. But every minute that I was there, I was so fascinated by everything, by the direction, by being cast, by the producer always rooting for me. And then seeing the final product and showing it off to my friends and family. That's when I was like, I want to do this, but on a bigger level.
That is awesome. What a great story. And it's so true. I think that's important for people to hear that are kind of on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, you nailed something right there, that your thought, the story you believed to be true was
Mm-hmm.
Caucasian, blonde hair, blue eyes. And boy, is it nothing but opposite of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it actually is nowadays. I would probably say the last 15 years, it's been more, I get, hey, interesting ethnicity,
Mm-hmm.
interesting look, and especially men in this business. I don't
Yep.
see
Mm-hmm.
a lot of competition as much for men as there is, say, for women. But
Exactly. Yeah.
listen, it's like we have our own thumbprint, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
your own look, your own style, your own approach versus the guy right next to you who's auditioning for the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that is important to remember, is
Mm-hmm.
watch out for your limited beliefs, and meaning, I believe this to be true. That may not be the case. Open your mind up, have the confidence. And
Mm-hmm.
we see that, like the day you walked into that room, and I go, wow, I felt that. You were in your own skin. And
Mm-hmm.
that's so important in this business. Half of the audition is seeing that. Uh,
Exactly. And yeah, and like just I love that you touched that. A lot of people think the audition starts when you're in the room or when you say your first line, but I believe that the audition starts from the minute that you're driving to the audition to the minute you're driving home. On the drive home, you can beat yourself up and you're like, oh my God, I could have done this, I could have done that. But you never know who's watching. The receptionist could have the last say. So I was always taught by my coaches and my agent to be nice to everyone there because you never know who's gonna have the final say. It could be a simple thing as the producer watching and he's deciding between two actors. and someone's just there with him, maybe cleaning the office. You could be like, hey, like, who do you find more interesting? Who do you find more believable? And if you're nice to that person can be like, well, this guy was really nice to me, so I go with this guy. That can eventually, end up getting you the gig. So I've
100%.
always believed in that.
I was laughing because I've literally been teaching and preaching that for 20 years. Like,
Amazing. I love that.
because I started as an actor too. And I remember
Uh-huh.
one audition I was pulling up to and had been raining, and it was tucked in this weird residential area office.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, where am I? So I was lost. It was before, the good old, map quest on the phone.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So I remember pulling up and frazzled. And of course, back then you had your headshot and your resume in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting out of the car and I saw people out there. One guy was smoking a cigarette, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, these are actors, right? So I opened my door, my headshots fall in the puddle of water, and I'm like, and I'm late. And then I was just like, just pick it up, just shake it off, Sally, because my coaches said the same thing. Just,
Mm-hmm.
when you show up, be ready. It's not when you say action. And so I shook it off. The guy at the cigarette looked at me, and I go like this. I walk in, check in, sit down.
Uh-huh.
Comes in, he walks right past me straight to the back, and I went, uh-oh. I think that's the client. And it was.
Exactly.
So I feel you there. And that's great advice for actors, is to show up, clear your head as you're driving there, take some breaths, shake off whatever happened before. Don't think about what's going to happen after, and just be authentic, be real, be kind, respectful, be present. Yes, that's great advice. So when you started auditioning at that age, you probably noticed, you had a lot of, like, you had go in and audition. Now things are changed, right? With self-tape.
Yes.
How has that affected your auditioning? Did you notice a difference?
At first, when self-tapes first started, I didn't like them because I used to love being in the room and being able to get direction right then and there. And when on self-tape, for me, I was just too much in my head in the beginning. I would do a take, and because you have so much freedom, so much, to pick the perfect take, that I used to want the perfect take. So I kept doing it over and over and over and over, to the point where I started hating it. I was like, I don't want to just keep doing it, because then I get sick of the lines. I get sick of oh my God, it's the same lines over and over. Then you get in your head, you start messing up the lines. Aside from then being in person, you do it and you're feeling the rush, the adrenaline. And then if there's something that needs to be adjusted, the director or the casting can adjust you right then and there. And you know that they're forced to watch you. On a self tape, you don't know if they're going to get to your tape or not. But since I knew that this was just the reality of things for now, so then I started really doing the preparation before the self tape. And then when I was filming, I was maybe doing 4 or 5 tapes, and I started noticing a lot more feedback, whether it was a director session, whether it was a chemistry read, and just opening myself up and thinking, okay, like, I've already done what I need to do behind the camera. So when I need to get on camera, it's just about getting it 2-3 times and then just send off the best one from that one. And what I also loved was my team, they would always have me send 1 or 2 takes to them, and then based on which one they thought was a really good one. So it kind of took the pressure off of me and putting it on them as like, you guys send off and I would tell them, hey, I think I really like this take, but what do you guys see from your perspective? Because you guys see tapes all day long. So, and now I actually prefer self-tape because I can do it anywhere. I can be in India, I can be here, I can be there. And, as long as I have my ring light, my tripod, I can just pop it up and just do it. I think now I really prefer it because it gives me the freedom to do it.
I love that. You just took us right through I think the frustration and the issues most actors had making that transition. And I could, from a casting perspective, I saw the difference.
Wow. What did you notice, like, mostly?
It's incredible. It took me a minute to, like, put 2 and 2 together, but I noticed in person exactly what you said. I got this, like, raw, go for it, adrenaline, commitment. Because when we started doing the self tapes, I feel like the technology of taking tape after tape after tape, and then I would get these self tapes that were like, I know this actor can do better. What happened? And so I would see the difference. And I think now what I teach when you're doing self tapes, separate the two, just like you said you're doing. Focus on the audition, prepare it, set up your technical stuff, your lighting, and then just hit record and just go for it. And
Love that. Exactly.
First or second take is actually the best one.
I've noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, if you separate the two, but if you were doing what you did before, trying to, what do we do on camera? Gotta look.
Yep. How do I look? And then next thing you know, you hear your dog barking, and then your dog needs to go pee. So you have to go downstairs, open the door for them, and then, you know, you hear people in the background. You're like, I just can't focus. But now but just like you said, it's as long as you can put them both aside and do it. Like you said, the first or second take is always going to be the rawest and the best and the most authentic one. Because then after that, you're just striving for perfection. But acting isn't about perfection.
It's not, and it's about trusting your instinct. So set up your self tapes, guys. Do all the technical stuff. Do a test, then walk away. Prep your character. Prep your scene. Step back, hit record, and maybe 1 or 2 takes. You should be golden. That's my advice.
I back that advice up too.
Awesome. That's great. And then, you know, as far as the casting process, can we talk about your experience with auditioning for Power Rangers, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I remember it was on March 27th, I believe, of 2018. I remember waking up from a nap, and first thing I always do is check my emails. So I checked it, started deleting the ones that were just spam, and then I saw this audition. And it said Power Rangers, and immediately it took me back to my childhood. I was like, oh, are they still making this? So I read it, and I was like, okay, like this would be really cool. So I started watching that day. I started watching 1 or 2 episodes of the latest season just to kind of get the beat, the rhythm, and the tonality of the show. So I read that, and then in the description it said must have physical fighting experience. And I was like, oh, well, like I don't know how to do kicks. I know how to do boxing, but I don't know how to do kicks or anything like that. So I was like, I'll just lie on my tape. So it was in person. So this was back when everything was in person. So I flew down to LA. I went in there, I did the tape, and then it was a casting associate. So it wasn't even, no, a casting assistant. So he told me, he's like, that was good. He's like, if we were to call you back, do you think you can like do like 20 to 30 seconds of physical demonstration of your physical skills? I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, yeah, I know how to do Taekwondo. I was like, whatever you need, I can do. And he's like, okay. He's not like, so if we call you back, you think you can have it prepared? And then I had a feeling in my head. I was like, I'm thinking that I'm probably going to get a call back. So as soon as I came back, I started going to this martial arts school in Reno, 360 martial arts. And the amazing Paul Reyes, he pulled me aside. He's all like, okay, he's all like, so we need to do privates every day. I need to just make you look good for camera. It doesn't have to be, this is exactly what you're going to use. So 7 days a week, before I even got the call back, we were just practicing because I believed that I would get it. So got the call back, went in there, met the casting director and the executive producer, did the thing for them. And then the executive producer's all like, well, like what you did he's like, I loved your tape, but he's like, what you did for your physical, he's like, the beginning just looked a little like it was just too boring. He's like, why don't you clean that up, go outside, delete that part, and come back in and then give us what you got. So I went out, and then he had me read again for a different character and did it. And then he goes, yeah, you're free to go. And that's the last thing you want to hear in the last round, is being the first one to get cut. So I told him, I was like, hey, maybe I wanted to try something. What if we do this? He's like, okay. He's like, step out and then come back in one more time. Went back in, just nervous. And there were so many talented, physical artists or actors and actresses. So went back in, did it. And that's when he told me, he's like, okay. He's like, just wait outside now. He's like, don't leave yet. So I was like, okay. So there was around 15, 20 of us in one room just sitting, waiting. Then he called us all back in. He's like, okay. He's all like, so I've got the tapes. I'm going to present it to the network. I present it to my team, and we'll let you guys know in about 2 weeks. About a month goes by. Nothing. I told my agent, I was like, anything? He's like, nothing. So he reached out to the casting, and she said, she goes, no, like he's still in the mix, but nothing has been decided. And then on July 25th, I got the call that I booked it, and it was one of those surreal experiences where I felt like nothing else mattered, that all the struggles, all the rejections, nothing mattered until now. this is what I've been living for. And then a month later, I was discovered. We were revealed at the biggest Power Ranger convention in LA. Got revealed, and then we were just flooded with social media, with fans. And then a month later, we flew out to New Zealand, and it was one of those things where everything was moving so fast.
Right.
And when we started filming, and yeah, and then now I blink and I'm like, dang, that was really 3 years ago,
Wow.
right?
Unbelievable. That is crazy. I mean,
I know.
I think that goes back to what you were saying about being prepared. I mean, can you
Hmm.
imagine not having, half of the experience that you had and the auditioning experience and the, working on
Hmm.
a few commercials here and there, and then all of a sudden being thrown into that? Like, so
Hmm.
I think that to me is a good way to illustrate, be patient, do the work, get on multiple sets, even if it's like a
Hmm.
featured extra, if you have no experience, get on
Exactly.
so that your first experience, if it's like what you experienced, Jazz,
Mhm.
you're not like, oh my God, this is too much, because I can imagine.
Exactly.
I mean, I literally got chills when you were telling me that.
Uh,
That is so exciting for you, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you.
I know work begets work, and I know you picked up a couple other films, and you also made a short film yourself, didn't you?
Yes, yes. That was a film right before I booked Rangers. So it wasn't the best, but it was something that me and my friends did that I'm so proud of to this day. And I would like to revisit that and reshoot it.
Well, I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, are creating their own content so that
Hmm.
they can control the work they're doing. It's kind of like, doing a good monologue. We look
Hmm.
at monologue as your best work, right? So
Hmm.
when people don't have links to work like Power Rangers or anything else,
Hmm.
how do you show your best work? Well, create your own short film. It's a
Love
very
that. Yeah.
costly experience. I'm sure you put a lot of your own money into that, but
Hmm.
what a great way to create something to show us what your best work looks like. And
Hmm. Hmm.
and that could just be a simple 1-2 minute monologue that you show us, a dramatic and a comedic. But I
Hmm.
mean it's exciting. It's all part of your journey,
Of
right?
course, of course, yeah. That's another thing, especially in the times that we're living now with the strike going on. I think this is probably the best time to create your own work, to record reels, whether it's you're back in class every week or you're, making short films with your friends. This is the perfect time because when things do go back to, the normal, you have something to present, whether you're trying to get an agent, whether you're doing an audition and they're seeking more clips from you. Now you have that. And also just to film something, if it's something you love, you're like, I'm doing something I love, even though it's not where, I want to be on big set and do this and that. But it's something that you love and you're gonna do it if you love it.
Absolutely. What do you think, speaking from a training perspective, what do you think
Mhm.
is a good training skill that helped you get to where you are today?
A good training skill for me would be staying consistent in class, and also I used to watch a lot of like actors on actors table, and then also like casting tables, and then also directors table. So I used to watch a lot of those and try to implement that in my work, and also just picking scenes that I felt really uncomfortable doing,
Mm.
like comedy, like whether it's sitcom, whether it's like vulnerability scenes. So just putting those in class because it was my safe space and get the feedback and get the training to tweak little things. So now I'm at that point where I see something I'm like that could be really uncomfortable doing, but I want to do it because I potentially would have to do that on set one day.
Yes.
And I think that's what really worked for me. So now when I look at a scene in class and I'm like, okay, like this one can get really vulnerable for me, but I need to do it and I need to fully commit. So now I look at every scene like if I don't commit, then why am I even doing this scene in class? Why am I even doing this audition? That I might as well just cancel it. I need to do it 100% because if I'm gonna fail, I'd rather fail big than do it halfway and then get critiqued for that.
I love everything you just said. Be
Hmm.
vulnerable, put yourself in that and lean into what you're uncomfortable with. Because
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
you lean into it, I was the same with improv. I hated improv. Like, just give me a
Uh-huh.
script, tell me what to say.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But improv is really the foundation of all acting, isn't it? It's like being able to
Yep.
with one another and be cohesive and flow and for me that changed it when I went to an improv class. So I think you're right. You got to see
Mhm.
something you're uncomfortable, and that's what classes are great for. And I do Zoom training with people all over the country, you know. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can get a coach anywhere online, you know.
Exactly.
And they're also, you guys are all so lucky right now because with the internet, there's so much content out there to help actors.
And there's so many castings, so many directors that offer free feedback that'll tell you, you know, and I think there's also this website that my friend had did before. It was called like Castability, something like that, where there was a bunch of casting directors on there, and then he said that they would like give them the scripts and then would put it up, and then each casting director, whether it was 5, 6 of them, they would give their feedback, and it would tell them if they would cast them in that project or not. So he said that it really helped him get away from that uncomfortableness, and then actually putting it up and working casting directors and getting true feedback and then implementing that into his work.
Fantastic. I love that idea. And I love giving feedback too. Everybody has
Yeah. Exactly. Just tell me, where am I lacking or not?
So Jazz, where can we see you next? What do you have coming up?
So right now we shot a proof of concept in March, I believe. So right now it's an independent movie in Reno. So now they're doing a GoFundMe, and then we're scheduled to possibly shoot in November or December. And then I believe that project will end up on Tubi or Amazon Prime.
Awesome. Well, I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this. This has been
Thank
fun.
you.
And I appreciate you. I remember another fun fact about Jazz. It's just to show you what kind of a cool guy he is. I was working on a film I was producing, and one of my PAs who had learning disabilities, just had Power Ranger stuff all over his backpack. And I go, "Oh, you like Power Rangers, huh?" He goes, "Yeah." He got all excited. I remember I messaged you, and you sent a sweet video to Larry, and he was so cute and giddy. He was, and you turned it around like within a day. And I mean, that meant a lot to me because I got to kids through him. So you know, you have a big heart, and that's going to get you a long ways, Jazz. We can't wait to see what you're going to do. Your career is still on the trajectory up, and
thank you so much.
I'm your biggest fans, bud, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Sally. You're amazing, and everyone out there, guys, go for it. The time is now. The time isn't next year or in 5 years. The time is now. Go for what you want to do. I would never want to be old and dying and then have regrets about my youth and what I should have went for, but I was too nervous of stability, of whatever it is. Just go for what you want, because life is way too short.
Amen. Yes. Hey, you have a great day and good luck on your shoot today. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sally. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening to The Casting Curtain. Please like, subscribe, follow, share, and basically tell the world about us. Go out there and break a leg and follow your dreams.